There's a line that I hear come up again and again. I can handle the work, but I can't handle the weight of the work. After a decade of running my own business and talking to hundreds of farmers on my podcast, I've identified a pattern when it comes to running a small business. And today I'm going to share 4 systems that farmers can use to lighten the weight of the work without having to quit. But first, you need to understand what tends to break a lot of farm business owners. Here's what most people don't understand when they get into farming. The actual farming part isn't the hard part. Planting can be meditative, harvest can be satisfying, physical work has a rhythm to it. Physical work also stops. It's often something you can do and finish, getting a sense of completion. But when you run a business, there's much more to that, and it's everything else besides that farm work that will destroy you. Let me show you how this compounds. You start with 5 crops. That's 5 planting schedules, 5 harvest windows, and 5 storage systems. Add 5 more the next year. Adding crops multiplies logistics, harvest windows, storage needs, display combinations, and staffing, but not linearly across the entire week. The crops themselves can often be manageable, but it's the logistics of everything else that can often break people. And here's the core problem. Farmers and farming, the work associated with it, that work never stops. And as a result, your brain never turns off. There's always one more thing to do. I've talked to farmers who seemingly run identical farm businesses. Some barely survive, some go out of business, others thrive and build hugely sustainable business. The difference, I think, often comes down to systems, and I'm not talking planting systems, I'm talking life and business management systems. There's 4 of them that you can implement in your life to try and make things a little easier and lessen the weight of the work. The first system is what we'll call the boundary system. Picture this, and if you farm, you've lived it. It's 7 p.m. You've been working since 5 a.m. You're exhausted. But the greenhouse needs watering. Just 15 minutes. 1 hour later, you're finally walking inside. Most farmers think the solution is working more, is working harder, it's optimizing every minute. But that's really backwards. It's not the case. And research suggests that productivity plateaus and error rates rise roughly at 50 hours of work per week. The gains you expect from working more often evaporate, so that extra hours, the extra little minutes you're putting in, you're not getting the same effective work rate that you would when you're fresh. The reality is, to get more done, you need to work less. So here's the first system and its boundaries. Rule 1, set a hard stop time, set a timer. When it goes off, finish the immediate task on hand and stop. No work when the workday is done. Rule number 2, the 15-minute fade out. The last 15 minutes are for staging tomorrow. There's no new task that we take on in the last 15 minutes trying to cram something in. We purposely try and finish 15 minutes early so we can prep for tomorrow. Rule 3, 1 protected off block weekly. Ideally 24 hours, but if that's impossible, 2 12-hour blocks, and protect it like you would a delivery deadline. That's to give you time to step away and time to take a mental break. Rule number 4, no new tasks after 9 p.m., only shutdown tasks. Nobody, unless you're working at a hospital or an airport or on missile watch, should be working after 9 p.m. Take a breath. When we take a look at how this plays out, that task that you left at 6 p.m., it's going to take 15 minutes to finish tomorrow morning when you're rested. Tonight, if you do it when you're exhausted, it might take 45 minutes. and you'll likely do it wrong, and you'll also further burn yourself out. Some operations need coverage, like dairies and livestock. There's options you can do with that for employees, neighbor trade, co op coverage, sensors, that type of thing. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the people who can switch it off, but are choosing not to. And if you think about shutting down, here's a shutdown script you can follow. Get your tools ready for tomorrow. Get your top 3 tasks written down for tomorrow and put that first one on a sticky note where it's prominent so you can see it. And then take a break. The time off here isn't a luxury, it's maintenance. It's for physical health, it's for mental health, and it's for the longevity and sustainability of your business. If you can't do it, you're really borrowing time from your future and putting the future of the business at risk. Some people can go a lot longer, working longer hours than others. But eventually, everybody's going to break down and their quality is going to diminish or they're going to break. So step back. These boundaries, they're not going to save you, but they can help hold you back from yourself. But we have to make sure that when you're doing this, your brain's functioning. So that moves us to the second system to take a look at, the sleep system. Sleep, specifically the quality and the amount of sleep, is often underrated. People think they can steal time from sleep and still perform as well, but the science says it's just not true. You might have 2 farmers, they both start work at 5 a.m. One got 8 hours of sleep, one got 4 hours of sleep. Some sort of accident happens, and avoiding that accident and ending up in the hospital can just be the result of not sleeping enough, because lack of sleep does impair your senses. Chronic shortage impairs reaction time, judgment levels, comparable to levels of being intoxicated by alcohol when they've looked at this in the lab studies. So sleep, it's not a woo thing. This is a real thing. It actually matters. When you're tired, you're not just tired, your brain is actually impaired. It's not functioning at full capacity. This could lead to errors such as misreading a market order where you lose money, you forget a supply order where you lose a week, you snap at a customer, damaging a relationship, or you do something in your personal life that you would otherwise regret. The ironic thing about sleep deprivation is it's all in our brain. And when this happens, the deprivation actually destroys our ability to recognize our own impairment. So we don't see that we're actually hurting ourselves. So here's a second system that you can put into place to prevent yourself from getting here. A simple sleep protocol, adapt it to your life. Component 1, set a bedtime alarm 45 minutes before lights out. This lets you know that it's time to start winding down. It's not just how long you sleep. It's often the consistency of when you go to sleep and when you wake up that matters. So you want to try and get on a schedule, setting some sort of alarm or reminder. The iPhones can automatically do this. Helps you get in a rhythm to get good sleep. It forces you to at least think about this idea of, oh yeah, bedtime's coming. Do I want to trade it to watch another episode of that show, or do I want to commit to my health and wind down? Component 2, put your phone outside the bedroom, or at least be disciplined enough to turn it off so you're not staring at it. You want a dark room, a quiet room. This is often the difference between good sleep and bad sleep. Sleeping anywhere is not as good as sleeping in the most optimum environment that you can create. So try and create something that keeps you asleep in an uninterrupted fashion for as long as possible. Component 3, think about naps. We're not talking about sleeping the afternoon away or taking a long nap every day. It's just a simple 20-minute power nap. You probably know the parts of the day where you naturally start to fade out. For me, it's after lunch around 1 p.m. A lot of times I like to just sit down on the couch, listen to something, and close my eyes, set an alarm for 20 minutes. Sometimes I fall asleep for 5. Sometimes I probably fall asleep for 15. And then I wake up and I'm at least reset a little bit to take on the rest of the day. The goal here isn't to make up for lost sleep, it's just to give your body a little bit of a setback to reset itself. Component four is to notice when you are potentially hurting yourself when it comes to sleep. So you set in place a red flag protocol. If 2 nights in a row you sleep under 6 hours, downshift the next day. Do very basic things, do a lighter workload so you're not putting yourself in danger or risking critical errors. The next thing to do is start tracking your sleep per week. How much do you actually get? Shoot for 49 hours, somewhere in that range. And you can look at these things and see what the trends look like. If you find you're sleeping 5 hours per night on average, do you notice yourself making mistakes, being grumpy, being crabby, snappy, whatever it is? If you increase your sleep for a week or two to 8 hours a night, do you feel different? Do you feel physically better? Do you feel mentally better? Are you calmer? Are you able to deal with stress better? You can run these simple experiments in your own life and see if you are the anomaly that can run off less sleep, because a lot of us can't. The great thing about playing around with sleep is it's free and we can all do it. And it doesn't make the work easier, but it makes our brain's ability to deal with the work a little bit easier for us. So even with boundaries and sleep, you're still going to face the same problem, the never-ending workload. That never stops. So how do you decide what actually matters when it comes to doing work? For that, you're going to need a priority system. You can look at this task board here. Everything on it is urgent. Seem familiar? The irony is, when every task that you have on your plate is urgent, nothing is. If it's all the same, how do we distinguish between what's more urgent than something else? It can't all be urgent. But most people and most farmers respond to whatever screams the loudest. At the end of the season, this can result in exhaustion and businesses that are just floundering. Meanwhile, others with the same operations build in task management systems to make the workflow a little easier to deal with and more sustainable. There are a lot of ways to prioritize tasks, but here's a very easy one that's proven effective in business and across all industries, so it can work for you if you want somewhere to start. It's called the Eisenhower matrix. It's a priority framework. Every task is going to fall into one of the four boxes here. Box one is urgent and important. These are things like plant before frost, fix irrigation during a heat wave, harvest before rain. Box two is important but not urgent, such as planning the next season, building systems, training, and infrastructure. Box three is urgent but not important. This is most emails, calls, and non-critical requests. And then box four is neither. This is things like social media, unnecessary reorganizing, and tasks that just don't move the business forward. But everything that you do can fit in one of these four boxes. The scary part is most farmers and small business owners spend most of their time in box number three, which is urgent but not important. This is very reactive. This is fighting fires. Your goal should be to move everything over to box two to make this business more sustainable. This is where you prevent fires instead of just fighting them. To help delegate importance, here's a specific ritual that I recommend. It's called the Friday 30, 30 for 30 minutes. The first 5 minutes, you're going to spend just brain dumping everything. Every task that you think you have to do, get it out onto paper or into some sort of notes program. For the next 10 minutes, you're going to matrix sort these. Put every task into one of the four Eisenhower matrix boxes. But be ruthless. It can't all end up in one box or it doesn't work. For the next 10 minutes after that, schedule box number two time. These are the most important things. Block 2 90-minute sessions next week where there's no email, no calls, no fires, where you can work on these critical tasks. In the final 5 minutes, you're going to try and drop and delegate. choose one thing that you can just stop completely, not do, and nobody will notice. It just doesn't matter. It's one of those things, I think I got to do it, but if I stop, I didn't actually have to do it after. And I bet if you do this one 30-minute ritual once a week, it will save you hours and hours and hours of work during the week. The goal is to enter the week knowing what you should be working on so you don't waste time in the moment figuring out, what do I do next? But we all know life isn't perfect, and some days there actually is things on fire, so you have to triage. One, consider safety, perishables, today's revenue, reputation, everything else. Focus on those most important things on days when life throws a fire at you. The second part of the system is the good old fashioned 80/20 rule. It's a classic because it works. In most operations, 20% of the activities generate 80% of the revenue. So where do you want to focus your energy? On that 20%. Three crops might bring in 70% of the revenue. The other 12 keep you busy, but they're not profitable. When you're thinking about tasks that go into the matrix, think about this 80/20 rule. Is this a 20% task? And if it is, it's probably going to end up in box 2. The goal each week is to try and spend as much time in box 2 as possible. If you're not spending at least 3 hours a week in box 2 type tasks, you need to think about how you're prioritizing your effort and your energy. So up to this point, we've set boundaries, we've prioritized sleep, and we've talked about setting priorities themselves. But they only work if you know what you're doing. And a lot of new farmers are scrambling. They learn through expensive trial and error. And this is where a fourth system can come in to really help new farmers get started on the right foot. And it's all about a mentor system. If you plant crops at the wrong density, the wrong location, the wrong timing, it can cost you $3,000, $4,000. That's lost revenue, lost expenses. You could do hours of research, reading on forums, watching video, trial and error, trying to figure it out yourself. The next season, you make a different $4,000 mistake. How do you avoid it? Well, one consistent thing that comes up in a lot of the interviews with farmers that I do who are successful is trial and error is a tough method to make progress. And it can be a method that works, but it's often expensive in terms of literal costs and opportunity costs. And oftentimes what you'll hear successful people say is they learned from someone who already is doing it. And they have a mentor around, someone that they can call and have a quick conversation with when they're not sure. And that 20-minute call can save you 6 months and thousands of dollars in mistakes. It can save you hours and hours of trying to research the solution yourself. Business research calls this high-grade information. This is theory. This is real knowledge from someone in the arena doing what you're doing. That's what you want to seek out. A lot of times when you do watch videos here on YouTube or read stuff on Instagram or forums, you don't know how good the information is. When you have a mentor who's either local or someone you talk to all the time, you get a sense of, hey, does this person know what they're doing? Like, do I trust them? Then you can take their advice much differently than just reading some random comment or seeing some random video online. If you don't have a mentor, here's some quick steps on how to get one. Identify knowledgeable sources, other farmers, extension agents, networks, conferences, all places you can meet people. Step 2, don't go up to somebody and say, will you be my mentor? It's just kind of creepy, it's cringy, it's too heavy. Instead, you could ask them something like, can I ask you one question about blank? Why am I having this problem with my Salanova? Something very basic. Good questions include things like, what's your transplant spacing for tomatoes and why? How do you stage harvest from 2 markets in 48 hours? What crop did you drop after year 3 and why? Things that are really detailed and are targeting what answers you're after. We'll put a template up on the screen if you're really struggling for ideas, but I think you get the feel of where this is going. And remember, asking is asking. Offer value yourself. Is there something you can give to somebody in exchange for their knowledge? It could be labor. You could help them with something on their farm. You can volunteer your time, but try and make it a win for them. Don't just feel like a leech trying to cling on to somebody else. I think mentors, whether real or virtual, is something that a lot of people need in business because it gives you not just technical knowledge, but they give you perspective. They've often been down the path and experienced many of the potholes that you will experience long before you'll ever get to them. And they can give you some idea of what this is like and where you're going. So a lot of times it's not just the knowledge they're bringing, it's an emotional support system. It's a reassurance system that, hey, you're on the right path. Keep going. This is normal. And if you're on your own as a business owner, you can often really feel like you're on your own. You can feel lost. Like, is it just me that this isn't working? Why am I struggling with this so hard? And you find when you talk to other people, it's not just you. And that little mental lift goes a long way. So there's a lot here in this video. I know we have 4 different systems: boundaries to protect your time, sleep to protect your brain, priorities to protect your energy, and mentors to protect your mental sanity and expensive mistakes. But there's one final critical piece. You have to do all of this in order. There's a sequence, and here's why it works that way. Sleep is important because it restores judgment. Boundaries create time. Priority aims the time, and mentors upgrade what you do with it. So sleep restores your judgment. Boundaries create time for yourself. Priorities aim the time that you've created, and mentors upgrade what you do with that time. If you're interested in doing more with this information, I've created a free implementation guide, the Farmer Survival Toolkit. It includes some worksheets and protocols to help you with everything that we've talked about in this video. There's no sales. It's completely free. You can download it below. And if you want to get started right now, here's your 1-week challenge. Shoot for 49 hours of sleep this week, 1 hard stop every day, plus a 15-minute fade out daily, 2 90-minute box 2 blocks on our Eisenhower matrix, and send somebody a mentor email. It might feel different, but hopefully it feels good. I've found personally, when my life feels like I'm spinning the most, it's often when I'm freestyling around the work that I do in my business. And I'm somebody who needs systems like this to rein myself in from going rogue and working 24/7 and getting myself prioritized on what matters. And I find when I'm focused, I feel a lot better. And hopefully, these tasks, this rest prioritization, the differentiation between business and life can help make you feel better about your life and your business balance. And hopefully, it helps other people in your life feel better about that balance too. Remember, no matter how overworked you feel, no matter how burned out you feel, you don't have to quit. You don't have to give up. You don't have to burn out. You just need a toolkit in your life to start to make sense of the chaos and put everything in the right sequence so you can best deal with it. Doesn't mean you're going to survive, but at least it gives you a better chance of making it in the long run. So whether you use this system or something else out there, I hope this video at least inspires you to control the chaos, to pull back on the workload, and take some control back from something that feels so uncontrollable at times. Best of luck with it. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you thought about this video in the comments. And until next time, be nice, be thankful, and do the work.